If you're heading to Rome in 2026, there are a lot of changes. In fact, most of these changes are just going to make your visit to Rome that much more special. So many great things have happened in Rome over the last couple of years, especially as they prepared for the Jubilee in 2025. But now that that's over, the city is looking better than ever. And in this video, I'm going to share with you several. I think I've got 12 changes in Rome that will make your visit to Rome more enjoyable, more fun, just better all around. Got so much to share in this video. Let's get started. First, let's start at the Fiumicino Airport. When you first get off the airplane, after you get your bags, it's now much easier to find the right taxis. What you do is you just follow the path, and now they've made a kind of a enclosed barrier that you walk through. And what's nice about this, there's no longer other people soliciting you trying to get into their taxis. It's all the official taxi. I always wondered in the past why they let others kind of pick off those that are trying to get to Rome, put them into an unofficial taxi, and then charge them who knows what. Now it's very regulated, super easy. Just go into that tunnel and it'll take you right to the next taxi, and it will be an official taxi. In fact, as you enter, there's even a sign there explaining the pricing for the taxi, which is 55 euros. And that will take you directly to your hotel or Airbnb right in the central city of Rome. Rome has worked real hard to clean up its reputation for, rogue taxis charging whatever. There's still a lot of stories out there, but typically, for the most part, it's about 95% contained. It's unlikely to find a dishonest taxi. Well, you'll find them if you look, and if you ride enough taxis, you're going to find one that tries to take advantage of you. But by and large, they're very honest. At least they follow the rules. Let's put it that way. They charge you what the meter says. They turn the meter on, and when you get off, they charge you appropriately. That's my experience. So when you're in Rome, don't be intimidated to take a taxi. The average taxi ride in the city center area, going from one location to another location, on average, is about 14 euros. Just remember, an official taxi is regulated, the rates and whatnot are regulated, but if you're in an unofficial taxi, they can charge you whatever they want, and it's super easy to determine if you're in an official taxi or not. An official taxi will always say taxi on top, and most of the unofficial taxis, while they may be official ride services, they're usually unmarked sedans, black sedans, oftentimes, or vans. So just, be aware, if your car says taxi on top, 99% of the time, I haven't seen one yet that's not an official taxi of Rome. Now let's talk about Trevi Fountain. If you want to visit Trevi Fountain, in 2024, they started a new thing called regulated access, trying to create a better experience for you by limiting the amount of people that are down in the basin area at any given time. And it worked really well. And in 2026, this is going to continue. However, they're going to start charging an additional €2. At least that's what it's going to start at. It will be €2 if you want to do that. But a lot of people are still confused to what this means. Now, you can still enter the square. You still get very close to the fountain for free, just like before. But if you want to get down by the fountain itself, where you're right there at the edge of the fountain, there's a little basin area down just below the grade of the piazza above, that you're going to have to pay an additional €2 to do that, unless you'll show up there during the unregulated times, and that would be after 10 p.m. at night all the way until 9 in the morning. Now just note also, on Monday mornings they clean that fountain so they do not start allowing people to go down to that basin until about noon. Now, if you want to create a super unique experience at Trevi Fountain, I shared this tip in another video, but it's worth repeating. Show up at the fountain at about 8:30 in the morning, about a half hour before they start the regulation, or before they start charging to enter the fountain. Head down to the basin. Now, as you hang out down at the basin, at about 10 or 15 minutes before they start regulating access, they're going to stop anybody new from heading down to the fountain. This way, you can already be down there. Now, those that are down there with you are going to slowly filter out. What you want to do is just hang out down there, sit down, enjoy the view, and by about 9 a.m., you're going to be one of the few, if not the only person down at the fountain enjoying and creating an experience that you're going to never forget. Every time I've tried it, it has worked like a charm. So if you get the opportunity to Head down to Trevi Fountain about 30 minutes before it opens. Let me know how it works out for you. Now let's talk about some of the changes at St. Peter's Basilica. There have been some really nice changes. In 2025, they made you line up for St. Peter's Basilica down the street, which was organized, but it didn't give you much to look at. And as of 2026, I was there just the other day, they've moved that line back into St. Peter's Square there. So at least while you're in line, you have beautiful views of St. Peter's Basilica. You can see all the fountains and whatnot, making it much more enjoyable to stand in line. Now, I don't know if that's gonna continue into the 2026, but that's the way it is right now. And then also, if you don't want to stand in line visiting St. Peter's Basilica, you can simply purchase an online audio guide. That will put you into a special security checkpoint. The line is much, much quicker getting you into St. Peter's Basilica. Instead of sometimes hours, it can be just minutes. So consider purchasing that. It's around €7, and it does need to be purchased at least 24 hours in advance. Another big improvement they've made for those that are visiting St. Peter's, especially those that are coming from the train station there that is next to it, they've made a pedestrian walkway. It's beautiful. Just pedestrians and bikes along that walkway. The views are spectacular. You get to walk past where the train goes to the Vatican. It's a special entrance there, so it should not be missed. In fact, even if you're not arriving by train, you may consider taking the 64 bus. That runs from Termini train station. It's the most popular bus that you would take if you're visiting the Vatican. Well, the final destination on that is the station. And instead of hopping off earlier, just go to the station and then walk directly into the station and then take a ride at the first track and follow it to the Vatican. The walk is beautiful. It's a great way to enter St. Peter's, the area. So in my opinion, even if you're not arriving by train, you may want to consider that. I think it's a wonderful, beautiful walk and a great way to enter St. Peter's area. They've also completed major improvements along Via della Conciliazione, making it the most majestic street in all of Italy. And a lot of the squares right around the area have been completely rehabbed, including Piazza Pia, which I'm going to talk about next. When people think of the most beautiful piazza in Rome, many people think of Piazza Navona, and for good reason. It's absolutely stunning. But there's a new renovated piazza called Piazza Pia. In my opinion, it rivals Piazza Navona for beauty. Absolutely stunning. There's two beautiful new fountains, lots of areas to sit down. The Tiber River runs through there. Beautiful views of St. Peter's Basilica, Castel Sant'Angelo, and just so much atmosphere in that piazza. I love it. Be sure to not miss Piazza Pia when you visit Rome. For 2026, there are two brand new metro stations along Line C connecting it to the Colosseum. All that construction around the Colosseum is finally over. It's nice now when you hop off the metro station. No more walls of construction, and more importantly, now you can access Line C heading into undiscovered parts of Rome. Now, I did a video about Line C and all that it has to offer. In another video, I'll put a link to it in this description of this video, but be sure to check it out. There's lots to see on Line C. Now let's talk about the Colosseum. There have been some improvements to the Colosseum, believe it or not. they're now creating a kind of a memorial, I don't know if you call it a memorial, but a reflection area where the outer ring of the fallen wall used to be. They're putting in steps or benches, like, not steps, or benches, they're little square benches where the pillars used to be of the outer wall. Some of them are the original remnants of what was left. You can kind of see that, and many of them are improved with these real nice travertine looking square. It's just beautiful, and this has been under construction for about 2 years. They're just about done with it. It should be completed here in the next few weeks, maybe 2 months at the most. I think I was just by there the other day and it looked like it was just about done. But there were a lot of people still working, so they weren't done, but they're getting very close. They've also made some nice changes to Via of the Imperial Forum. That's the street that runs from the Colosseum between the two forums. As you walk down now, they've widened the pedestrian area because on the weekdays, that street is shared with taxis, pedestrians, and buses. They've now moved the buses and taxis to the center, allowing pedestrians to walk along the street. On the weekends, for now, it's still pedestrian only. I'm not sure if it'll stay that way. It probably will, because a lot of people do like to walk down that street. But even on weekdays, it's much more enjoyable, giving pedestrians much more space to walk. Another big improvement near the Colosseum is the street that runs from Circus Maximus to the Colosseum. What they've done there is they've widened the pedestrian walkway. They've reduced the amount of traffic, making it more like a 2-lane street, and increasing the pedestrian walkway quite a bit, including a bike lane down there, making it much more enjoyable to walk from Circus Maximus to the Colosseum, or from the Colosseum to Circus Maximus. But either way, the walk down that street is much, much more enjoyable. Now let's talk about the square Piazza Cinque Cento. That's the big, square right in front of Termini train station where you come out and grab buses and taxis. That entire square was redone and opened up initially in 2025, and here it is a year later, and it's kind of a mess, honestly. Still seems to be quite a bit under construction, closed off, walled in. I'm not sure what's going on. Before, it seemed much easier to grab a taxi when they came across the front. Now it's over on the corner. Seems to be a bottleneck, much longer lines to get taxis because they can't get people in and out of taxis quick enough. And the buses, not a big deal, those are okay. But overall, I just thought it's still pretty chaotic. Hopefully they have something planned better for the near future. But for right now, it's kind of a mess. If you're heading to Rome soon, be sure to check out our Rome travel guide. I'm going to put a link to it in the description of this video with a discount code. Back to the video. Over the past couple of years, most of the most important fountains have all been renovated, including Trevi Fountain, the fountains in Piazza Navona, the Turtle Fountain, and one of my favorite fountains, Fountain of the Naiads in Piazza della Repubblica. To ride Rome's public transportation in 2026, the buses, the trams, the metros, it's still €1.50. But the 24-hour access pass has gone up from, I believe it was 7. I don't know when it exactly changed, but now it's €8.50 for 24 hours. And there's also a 48-hour, a 3-day, a 1-week, and a monthly pass. You can look those up. But most people are going to be using Tap and Go. That's where you use your credit card to tap the receiver. And on the buses, the good news is they now have receivers at the front of the bus as well as the back of the bus on most every bus. And it's worth noting that many of the buses have been upgraded, so if you're going to be riding on a hot day, they should be a little bit more comfortable. Another square that they completely redid and getting ready for the Jubilee is the Piazza di San Giovanni. That's the big square right in front of La Basilica di St. John in Lateran. The square is done very nice, lots of atmosphere. When heading out there, just hop off the metro, enjoy that square, and visit the Basilica of St. John in Lateran. You may not notice at first, but the city center of Rome is cleaner than ever. That's because they've added a lot more trash receptacles. They've even added some compacting type electronic receptacles. You put your trash in and yeah, it takes care of it. Things like this may go unnoticed, but when you start to see trash everywhere, that does get noticed. So just so you know, they're doing a lot to improve your experience in Rome, including keeping the trash off the streets. Another thing to look forward to in 2026 is the reopening of the Mausoleum of Augustus. Now this place has been shut down more than it's been open over the past 20 years. In fact, I was starting to think they forgot about it, but now they've created a brand new piazza, Piazza Augustus, and it's pretty impressive. And soon the Mausoleum of Augustus will be reopened to the public. As a small YouTuber, it does take subscribers to keep this channel going, and the best way for us to get subscribers is if you like, share, comment, and if you haven't subscribed, be sure to do so. It's much appreciated. To the next one.